Hey, good morning. I'm putting one of Guy's avatars into a surgical room this morning, so um, I'm finally glad I'm taking care of that much. But this is sort of a follow up to my last video on information transfer systems, communication systems, and all that kind of stuff, right? And there's always going to be things that I leave out, you know. There's always some link to some piece of information. Well, you didn't include that. Well, as I remember, Patty Broussard said one time, if when you realize how much information you're connected to that represents a bit and a byte that's a piece of the puzzle because of all the information that's related to each other that's linked, that you can experience and thus communicate what that is, right? There's always going to be some puzzle piece that, hey, you didn't include it. Well, I only have so much memory on this phone to use, right? But I do know that there is wireless electricity, okay, that's up and running in Texas. I don't know, and I haven't looked at it, not that I don't have the time to do that. I sort of realize the way that my timeline works, what I'm supposed to be aware of, and what I communicate, and how I experience what I experience at the moment in which I do as events, is basically already etched in stone, sort of, so to speak, because. When I had a timeline review in 2016, I realized I wrote my own timeline, so I don't worry about nothing, which is why I don't wear a watch and I don't think about time, which is one of the most beautiful experiences that I had, for example, when you live in Hawaii. Your circadian clock, your pineal gland, your spirit, your soul, if you will, the nature of who you are in spirit, right? There is a natural cosmic clock of things, a cosmic order, and the movement of the stars, the constellations, right? That you sort of already know how that's all mapped out. So, in other words, the clock of the constellations and the cosmos, if you will, Lani Kea, is already known. It's like the information and how all that works is already built in. Self-knowledge, right? And that naturally comes from having, if you will, a spiritual and an intelligence and a creative connection to everything else that communicates to each other through neurotransmitters, neurons, and all the rest of it. So I wanted to make sure that I communicated, particularly in why when you're a child and you realize that, particularly reading a newspaper at 4 years of age, where your protection is going to come, where you know that you're going to keep your battery recharged, right? And so when a 4-year-old child knows, hey, you got to stay in your heart, okay? What is it, the knowledge that you have about your heart that tells you that or informs you of that? It's your neurotransmitters, your neurons, okay? Those are your messages. Your heart actually has a mind of its own, which is the mind of the universe that you know that you're connected to through your neurotransmitters. So you know that you're never going to lose your connection to the higher intelligence, the higher creative mind of the cosmos. Okay, so when you know that you never lose that, you know that you're connected to a big-ass universe. Right. Okay? So that's why they go after the heart. Okay? That's their numero uno target. Turn that heart cold, which means shut the furnace off. Okay, so, girls know this. That's why Misha Falme, who grabbed me and wanted me to girls know this stuff. Girls that have a soul know this stuff. She went through an enormous amount of sexual abuse, an enormous amount of physical beatings, okay, incest kind of stuff, right? At a very, very early childhood age. Okay? And these are always the most difficult and challenging works that light workers, if you will, spiritual warriors, trying to. We all know how this works. The heart is the power generator. Restoring what they've lost, fragments of who they are, lost in time to those that harvest our energy, has to be restored. That's what restoration is. And it starts with the heart. Okay? You got to get that heart going. That's a heart wheel, which is a light wheel, which is a vortex. Spirals. power center. That's your protection. Okay? So when you know that as a child, that's how I made it. Okay? Indians know these things. The native Indians and tribes know these things. Okay? Every chief of a tribe knows that. Every clan mother knows that. That's why the girl on the planet, I'm always thanking her for the heart that she gave me, and why I've always said I lived through a girl's heart. I lived through Gaia's heart. Okay? So I'm always with her. She's always with me. That's what keeps me going. And that's what allows us to be able to stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. Okay? To the higher power. The higher power generators. The suns, the stars, superclusters, all that. Right? That's your connection to everything that is held within that light that loves us. And so we love back. It's a oneness that you feel being in all that light and living spirit. So when I thought about what I said before about communications, the importance of restoring the heart, because what she told me one day, she said, every day that I go through life, it's like I got another layer of cold rock around my heart. I can't even begin to tell you how painful that is to hear that from a girl who went through everything that she went through. So I'm hoping, because I had a vision in my mind, knowing what's happening now, and even though she was at a point where she was still drinking Xanax and alcohol, because she's running, it's like multiple live streams that she has a tug of war, and I know how this works between everybody that's here. You're in a tug of war between having a spiritual communication relationship with everything that is in nature, grounded to the battery of Mother Earth and her spirit, where she's given you everything you need, okay, and living like a native the way we do, okay, that doesn't use all of the infrastructure that they built on this planet that doesn't serve us, that as a result of that was destroying her. Okay? Because their state of consciousness, their state of being that is running a program through how that reality and that infrastructure becomes the program that everybody runs, is the tug of war between that and nature.